next up on that front is Condor Gold. We're happy to be joined today by Mark Child. Condor Gold is a dual listed in Canada on the TSX under the symbol COG, and also in London, in the UK, on the AIM under the symbol CNR. It's been led for the past 9 years by Chairman and CEO Mark Child. And Condor is a gold exploration and development company with a focus on Nicaragua, which is, of course, in Central America. So we'll look forward to sitting back and enjoying this presentation from Condor Gold, after which we'll be joined by Mark. We'll have a little bit of a Q&A session for him. Thanks, everyone. Please take.
Right, I take it I'm on now. So I've got a 5-minute presentation here. That's our statutory disclaimer. The strategy of Condor Gold is to construct a base case 2,800 tons a day processing plant producing 100,000 ounces of gold a year, and develop our exploration strategy and double the ounces to 5 million. In terms of our investment highlights, we have a PFS out to 43-101 that can produce 80,000 ounces of gold a year for 7.5 years. And we can be in production in about 24 months from today. We've got permitted 1.12 million ounces open pit material permitted for extraction or production. That's divided over 3 pits, and I'll come on to that a bit later. We've got the permit to construct the processing plant and all the mine site infrastructure at La India, Nicaragua. And with the additional feeder pits, production can be about 120,000 ounces of gold a year. We've got pretty strong economics. We've got $700 all-in sustaining cash costs, lower quartile globally in the PFS. Undervalued, but you expect most CEOs to tell you that. Price to book's about 0.19. Potential early cash flow from toll milling, from high-grading mini pits, and I put the mineral resource reserve, splitting it out with indicated and inferred on that slide. La India project's a low sulfidation epithermal vein system. It's an old mining district operated by Naranda, produced 500,000 ounces of gold at 13 grams. There's 7 small deposits you can see there, can all be extended along strike and down dip. And there's 2.4 million in aggregate there. The La India vein sets where we focus the PFS, and the open pit part is 900,000 ounces there, and to the north there are 2 other small pits, and it's 2.1 million in the 3 main vein sets. That's La India pit. It's got a strip ratio of 10:1. There's 900,000 ounces at 3 grams in the PFS, and there's 400,000 ounces underneath it. As you can see, there's no village or community nearby. But here's some of the better drill results. Top 10, we've got 10 meters at 34 grams. There's 80,000 meters of drilling that actually goes through the project. And some great high-grade drill results there. We've done mining dilution studies on those 3 pits. And if you take those in aggregate, we've got a mill feed of 8.53 million tons at 3.1 grams for 847,000 ounces of gold. The last 2 feeder pits we've had permitted about 4 and 6 weeks ago. That's the Mestiza, and you can see the head grade there. We have 600,000 tons at 5.7 grams head grade, fully diluted for 111,000 ounces on Mestiza. So we probably mine that quickly and early on in the project for quick payback. The aim is for 120,000 ounces from that open pit mill feed, and to add the underground of 1.2 million ounces as we're in production. This is the mine site infrastructure. This is what the ministry has. You can see the mill. These are 1 kilometer squares. You can see the processing plant is here. The tailings, the main pit, the waste dump that I'm pointing with my mouse here on the computer, this is all permitted. That's your 900,000 ounce pit. And these smaller pits on America and Mestiza are up here. So you've got 1.1 million ounces open pitable permitted, and underneath that you've effectively got another 1 million ounces underground, or 1.2 million underground within the same area. We've done a scenario of actually a quick, what happens if we did this in 2 stages. So we started with 1,000 tons a day and then increased to 4,000 tons a day, or we do toll milling. So we have a high grade scenario, and that comes up, as you can see here, of 1.6 million tons at 4.65 head grade for about a quarter million ounces of gold. That's a fully diluted head grade. Exploration upside, we can easily drill down the existing ore shoots in the core area and add another 1 million ounces to 3 million. We think in the 4 small satellite deposits of roughly 50,000 each, we can expand those. In particular, we like a cow and think there's a 500,000 ounces on that. The district play we've been getting on with while we've been getting all this permits. We've done the soil geochemistry over 300 square kilometers. We've done the helicopter borne geophysics. We've done structural models, scout drilling, and quite a lot of geological mapping. So we're quite convinced here. We have many drill targets drill ready. What we're doing at the moment is a study period. We're getting the whole project shovel ready, and I'll come on to that probably in the Q&A. So just to wrap it up, we've got a base case of 80,000 ounces. We can now, with the feeder pits, take it to 120,000 ounces of gold a year. We're fully permitted. We can add it underground and get that even bigger to 150,000 ounces of gold a year. We're going for the district play of 5 million. We've got strong economics and we're fairly undervalued. So that sort of is a quick wrap up, and I'll come out of my presentation now. And stop sharing. I think I've done it.
There we go. And can we see you as well, Mark? Are we able to get the video? There he is. Hey, Mark, great to see you.
Good to see you too, Benton.
Are you joining us from the UK today? Or are you out? Are you? I would imagine so.
Yes. So you've got me in my flat in the middle of London here. So
okay.
Yeah, we've had the odd thunderstorm to clear the air, so it's back to rainy London.
Well, that's part of the charm of London. No city does rain better than London. There's something about it's part of the allure somehow. You don't want too much of it, but a little bit of it kind of adds to it. I always thought anyway. So listen, Mark, fantastic presentation. Really interesting what's going on there. You and I have talked over the years. You know, I've had a long interest in Nicaragua. It's such a fascinating country with so much mineral potential. We've seen some great mines out of there. Let's push down a little bit more on the recent permitting and how with the feeder pits and how that's going, because that's pretty new news, right? That was just in the last month or so. Can you give us a little bit more detail on that in terms of the significance of those additional permits?
Yes, certainly. Well, it takes a good 12 months to actually get a permit in Nicaragua. There are 18 technical studies that go into an environmental social impact assessment, which goes to the ministry. So each of those small feeder pits, there's a couple 100,000 ounces in aggregate, had 600 pages of studies and 18 different studies, everything from the geotech to the geochemistry to the mine schedules, the waste dumps and environmental, social. We held the public consultations. They were well received by the communities who want the mines to go ahead. And importantly, it sort of gives us optionality because we've got the main pit and the processing plant already permitted. And these feeder pits go through the same processing plant, use the same tailings and explosives. And it gives us other faces to work on from a mining perspective. So it's very positive, and it's good to see the government is actually in full permitting mode.
Excellent. That's great to hear. It's a strong indicator, unquestionably. Now, you've also recently raised about $9 million. Can you give us your plans on how you're going to spend that money over the next, let's say, half a year, going out to the end of this year?
Well, there's going to be a bit less on my flights at the moment, I'm afraid.
You're getting some savings there, absolutely.
There's some savings there. But we've fully contracted to fully end. So when you get a permit in Nicaragua, the ministry gives you the permit to construct and operate the mine for 10 years. And then it has a number of conditions just before you break ground. And there are about 10 conditions in our permit, one of which is to fully engineer the tailings storage facility. So whereas a bankable feasibility might be a 40% engineered study, the ministry wants to see it 100% engineered and drawings issued for construction. So we've engaged Tierra Group in Denver to do that. And they're working on that. One of the use of proceeds, if you like, to fully engineer the tailings storage facility. But there are other studies. We've got the mine schedule, which we completed, the waste dump schedules, the processing plant designs, land we're acquiring. We own about 65% of the surface rights, so we've got offers out on 100% of the land. We're buying that. So the objective between now and the end of the year is to fully engineer the project as much as we can, to buy all the land, to fence off the land, and to start site preparation. Actually, we'd like to start clearing the land on the key parts. And there's about 1,000 hectares of land to buy, just to put it in context. So that's part of the use of proceeds. We also are in advanced negotiations to acquire a processing plant. So some of that will be used for a deposit for a processing plant. This would be a second-hand processing plant. And if that doesn't come off, we'll put a deposit down on a new processing plant out of China. So we're trying to put a clear timeline to construction. We will, if we get that, we will also be doing a full engineering study on the processing plant. So we've already done site visits to inspect it. We've got great reports back. We pay a deposit, do some due diligence, and then have a fully engineered study as to what we need from there. We have equipment lists. We're really quite advanced on that. So but until we signed a deal, it's not done. But it's a potential use of process. Whichever way we go, we'll try and secure a processing plant this year.
Excellent. That'll be a major step. Now, you've alluded to the timeline to production. Can you give us a little bit more around understanding? There's a few variables there, but can you give the investors on the call a bit of an understanding on what you think that timeline looks like?
Yeah. Well, I'm running the company to build the mill and the plant. That's what the community wants to see. It's what the government wants to see. It's what our shareholders want. So I'd like to do the engineering studies as much as possible this year, buy the land, have the plant. I think we can get a plant in Nicaragua within 6 months, maybe earlier. There are a lot of variables around that with movement of people at the moment, for example, with the coronavirus. But and next year I see as a construction year. Depending on the type of plant, we think the construction period should be 12 months, i.e. all of next year is really a construction year. Another possibility to cash flow is toll milling. I mentioned that high-grade mining scenario. Calibre Mining has spare capacity at one of their mills of 2,000 tons a day. There's a ball mill sitting idle. We'd be very interested in helping them fill that ball mill, and with gold at where it is now and our low costs, there's enough in there to reach a toll milling agreement, which is good for them and good for us. So there could be a quicker route to cash flow if we were to reach agreement with them. Their mills are currently closed due to the coronavirus. They've announced last week they're going to restart them in phases. But that is something which, subject to reaching an agreement, we're also interested in doing.
Great. Well, Mark, I got to tell you, your story is resonating with our audience. We are getting a lot of questions here. So let me start cutting through some of these. First one's a nice quick one. Other than the 3% government royalty, are there any other royalties?
Yes, there's a royalty over 128 square kilometers of the 580 on Landia project to Royal Gold, the listed company Royal Gold. We inherited that royalty. So effectively there's a 6% royalty. That does cover the main Landia concession. It excludes the Mestiza pit, which we discussed, but there's a small royalty of 2% on that to a local party. So I think probably from a sort of a mass perspective, think of there being an additional 3%, so 6% in total.
Okay, great. I think you've covered, there was one here on the progress of the land purchases, but you've touched upon that with the proceeds of the funds. Is there any other details to add on that progress with land purchases?
We've got offers out to everybody, and we keep on increasing them. With the coronavirus is hitting Nicaragua badly at the moment. It's probably, let's say, 8 weeks behind the UK or Italy. We've and that has meant that some of the landowners have actually got a bit more realistic about selling the land. It's always difficult when you've got a permanent project buying the land. We bought about 15 hectares of land, 3 separate parcels in the last 4 weeks. So it's coming along, but it's a slow process. But we've got about 65% of the land at the moment. At the beginning of the year, we had nearer 30%.
Okay, so you've already made significant strides there. And in terms
yes,
of
I'm confident. I would say on the land, but everybody wants to sell the land. Say 90%, 95% want. It's just a question of price. So yeah, we're just trying to get realistic on price with a few people.
Managing expectations is always part of the mining industry, as we all know. What is the planned Capex for the project?
Yeah, the Capex in the PFS is $110 million US. That would be for 2,300 tons a day. And as people know, in 4311, that assumes brand new plant and everything. That was done by Lycopodium Toronto. If we increase to 120,000 ounces, it's likely to add another $10 to $20 million on new equipment. If we buy a second-hand plant, we hope that we can make a saving on the plant itself, the combination circuits. And so I think that those are the ballpark numbers. I'd hope to come in underneath that. If we do it in 2 stages, I think the first stage Capex is likely to be nearer the $40 to $50 million, i.e. if we put up a small plant of 1,000 tons a day and then take it up to 4,000 tons a day. And so there is an option that we're looking at of do we do this in 2 phases to minimize the capital requirements and the share price dilution to existing shareholders.
Okay, thank you. Mark, we are running a bit short on time, but we have a lot of questions. So I do want to try to get a couple more in here. People are taking the time and they're engaged by the stories, so let's do our best to deliver for them. How adequate is the infrastructure to support a new mine, such as electricity, water, roads, contract companies, etc.?
Okay, I'd refer the person to our website and the PowerPoint presentations that are up there. There's a road that runs through the project. There's grid power that runs down that road. The project of Landia is a 2-hour drive on a clear run to the airport in Managua. So it's blessed with infrastructure. Our problem is more like communities are too close.
Okay. And then why don't we wrap up with this one, because it is such an important issue. Could Mark please outline some of the social engagement work his staff is doing at La India and the current relationship with the local community?
Yeah. Well, all the staff are Nicaraguan that we've got, and we've got a great social team there. We've totally turned it around. We had a 2-year delay with the project due to resettlement challenges about 3.5 years ago. We redesigned everything to avoid any resettlement. It's a former mining town, so they understand mining and they want to return the town to its former glory days of being a mining town. So we have engagement groups across elderly committees, youth committees, pro-mining committees, pro-business committees, artisanal miners, engagement plans. We have a Miners' Day coming up in Nicaragua in the next few weeks. So we're very active. We give drinking water to 350 houses. We're doing a lot on coronavirus education with the healthcare clinics. We have a local website called minalandia.com.ni. We have Facebook pages for Condor SA and Landia Gold SA. So there's quite a lot in the public domain. We did have the IFC as a shareholder. And so for a company construction, we're fully compliant with the IFC's performance standards for an environmental and social side. So they really helped us, giving us a leg up to get our social license to operate. And that's really been come born fruit, if you like, by getting permits, because the permits are subject to a public hearing, a public consultation. So you can do all your work, which I mentioned, but if the public consultation goes badly and the community say we don't want the mine, then you're stuffed in a way. But so you have to really work with the community to get them to all vote for it. And that goes to the ministry officials there monitoring those public hearings or public consultations voting on the mine. So, but it's an evolving thing. It doesn't stop. When you've got your permits, you've got to keep on working with the communities. It's vital.
Well, I know in our previous conversations how close that is to your heart and how seriously you take that. So it's nice to be able to explain it to the audience a little bit, and you're getting real results based on it. I do want to sneak one more in here because it's a technical question. I think it's a good one that investors would want to know. The question is this: if you go down the smaller mill or the toll route that you mentioned with Calibre, are there any plans to drill to convert the inferred resources into indicated before mining would start?
Okay, good question. If you take the main pit, the PFS pit, or even that 900,000 ounce pit, it is 90% plus indicated ounces. So we don't really have to do much there. We've got mini pits within the main pit. So there's about 50,000 ounces of the main pit, the reserve pit of 670,000, which we could take out. We would so we could go straight into production with it. So the answer is no, not on Landia pit. On Mestiza, we would want to put a bit more drilling in ahead of either producing on a small mill or toll milling over to Calibre.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for taking all those extra questions. Thank you for your time. We're going to have to leave it there. There's a couple more questions there, but unfortunately, we've already gone over time here. So thank you for being generous with the time, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview, Anthony.
Excellent. Take care.